Welcome to the Top Dog Mindset Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of running a successful dog training business. I'm your host, Kevin, joined by my co-host, Angel. Together, we bring you expert insights, inspiring stories, and practical tips. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, we're here to provide you with the necessary information to build a thriving dog training company. So relax, join us with a cup of coffee as we explore the Top Dog Mindset Podcast. Welcome back, everyone. We are here back inside of the dog trainer community, and Angel and I are going to be spending some time today talking a little bit about organization and the importance of having a CRM, or just a place inside of your business where you can kind of like manage and track all of your leads and clients and stuff like that. Just because this is something that we spend a lot of time talking about with our clients, and I felt like this could be beneficial for anybody who wants to listen to this. Just because sometimes people don't even know what a CRM is when I mention it to them. Let's just talk a little bit about that today, Angel, and talk about a good place for people to start, even if they're not ready to make the jump yet directly to going fully digital and using something like, we have Alfred for all of our clients, a place where you can manage all that stuff. But for you, like in the past, before you went even digital, were you using pen and paper, notepad, stuff like that? And then when you made a jump to, using your phone, did you use an app on your phone? What was kind of your transition, and what did that look like for you when you were doing it?
Yeah. So, before I went digital, I guess I was still kind of digital. It was on my phone, but it was just using the notes section of the phone. So I guess equivalent to using a notepad and pencil.
For sure.
Which I found that even some of our clients who are using Alfred, they're still trying to get out of their old ways of using a notebook and pencil. Pencil to be specific, not even a pen. They've got different notebooks. They have, the calendar on their phone. They have a giant paper desk calendar. I wasn't as extensive as that, but it definitely was just notepad on my phone. I had my system on how I kept track of things, and I liked it. It worked for me. And I think that even people who aren't using a CRM now, or maybe they're using Alfred, our clients that work with us are using Alfred to an extent, but still using, a notepad. It works for them. But I feel like people who are doing that don't understand the true benefit of just going completely digital, because you can do it on your desktop. You can do it from your phone, assuming there's an app for whatever CRM you're using. But it just really helps things stay super organized.
Yeah, and I think that we're going to be referencing Alfred throughout this call, probably just to kind of use that as an example. And so for anybody who's not listening, what Alfred is, just so you kind of know, it's that is the CRM. So CRM is client relationship management, right? Or customer relationship management. And, it's just a place where all of your leads inside of your business, so any contact form or any message that comes through Instagram or Facebook or your Google business profile, or through your ads or wherever, any phone call or lead form that comes through, any message at all kind of comes into the pipeline. So you can be okay, John Smith contacted me today and I called him and he didn't answer, so let me take a note on that, and that way I set a reminder to call him back later. Or I talked to this person today, and they're, we're setting them up for a consultation, or they bought a program, and our start date is this. You can integrate it with your calendar. And so I just felt like that was important to kind of break that down. And by the way, we call it Alfred just because we're kind of nerdy, and we named it after Batman's butler. But the whole idea is that it's your personal assistant, right? So it's going to help you manage everything. And the funny thing about it is, I think a lot of times people think man, I need an assistant to manage things for me. I need somebody to, kind of be an office manager. And you probably will at a certain point in your business. But it's funny, oddly enough, we've had quite a few clients who have said to us, I thought that's what I needed, but all I really needed was a really good CRM to have, automations taking place to message people for me, or respond if I miss a call, or, do scheduling for me and stuff like that. And there's so many different cool things you can do with that. But what I always recommend to everybody is, you don't want to try and go from 0 to 100. I mean, you could certainly try and take on that task of being okay, everything has been written down, scribbled into a notebook, and I'm just sick of it and I'm ready to go fully digital. That's cool. But, I think that there is a little bit of a learning curve. And I think what a good thing to do is to do both simultaneously, because there's going to be a little bit of transition, right? So if you're writing things down on a notebook right now, pen and paper, still keep doing that. Keep booking people the way you normally do. But at the same time, start getting comfortable and booking them into the CRM or whatever software you're using simultaneously. It's going to be a little bit redundant. It's going to be, duplicating the process, but it's going to kind of allow you to make that transitional period. And if something doesn't work well with the new piece of technology you're using, at least you have that old way of what you're comfortable doing to fall back on.
Yeah. And like, in addition to obviously everything that Alfred can do outside of like nurturing leads, I think people also don't realize like the amount of work that you would put into, I think the amount of work that you'd be putting into like how you're managing everything now,
Yeah.
everything would take the same amount of time, if not less. And it can seem like super repetitive, but if you make a call, you go into Alfred and then you move that person into like this stage, or you make the sale and you go in there and you check this off or whatever it is, just like you would on your notepad. You know what I mean? If you have a list of people, like I need to follow up with these people, you end up following up with them and then you cross them out. Same thing. It's just like little steps. And even like people who are fully using Alfred, I think they could take something away from this video too, with just like making it a point to take that time out of each day to focus on making sure that everything is organized. Like I'm the type of person where after I talk with the client or after I complete a task or after I do like any little thing, I go back to my, spreadsheet or my list or whatever it is and I'll make notes or I'll cross it off or whatever I need to do. And granted, some days get busy and I can't do that right away, but I will make sure that at the end of the day, I go back and I make all my notes and I check off everything that I need to, just because by allowing that to build up, you'll find yourself the next day or even the end of the week, like, I didn't check any of this stuff off. Did I do this? And you have to like, cross check things and see if you've had these conversations, things like that. So I think it's still like you're still putting in that time to make sure that leads are where they're supposed to go, tasks are checked off and things like that. But that also goes into talking about just like overall organization and putting or setting aside time every day for like that admin stuff for your business and making sure that all of that stuff is done so you don't find yourself, at the end of the week or end of the day or end of the month or whatever, trying to play catch up.
Yeah, that's super well said. And the thing is, inevitably, once you start getting busier, the you will forget something if you don't have good systems and processes in place, and it's better to get out ahead of that now and get something set up that you can scale and grow with, instead of waiting till you get so busy and it's such a big pain point and there's things going wrong that you're like, let me try and figure this out now. Because then it's going to be a point of stress
Mhm.
instead of like something that you can kind of get out ahead of early on. And sometimes I think people can feel a little bit like, do I even need this? This feels a little bit silly. Like I just talked to this person on the phone. I told them I'm going to be coming to their house at 2 o'clock on Wednesday for our appointment. Do I really need to send them a confirmation message? Do I really need to send them like reminders? And that's what I mean is that like when your business scales past just you, or you have different people that you're trying to fit in and you get really busy, it's not going to feel so silly anymore, because you're going to be like, I really need people to honor the commitment and the time that they committed to spend with us. Like I need them to honor that. And if you ever have a hard time with people like showing up to calls, or like, hey, I told this person, to call me at this time, or told them to be available to talk at this time, or to be at this location at this time, or I was going to come over to their home at this time. If you have ever had a situation where people aren't available and you're calling and they're not answering, or showing up and they're not there, like the first thing you should be doing is sending people, getting them on your calendar and making sure that they're getting reminders. And so this is one of these things that a lot of clients have said to me, like, well, why do I need to automate that? I'll just send them the text message before. I can do that. And it's so funny that like once people start doing it, the amount of clients that have said to me, like, I cannot tell you how much time that saves me, that like I put it in once and I never need to think about it again.
Mhm.
And it's not that the actual act itself of sending out one confirmation message or one reminder an hour before you hit the road to go to do the consultation really takes that much time. It doesn't. It's copy, paste, hit send. But it's like it takes you out of the groove. It takes you out of whatever you were doing, and you have to kind of shift your focus away from that thing onto this now. And then it's like you got to get restarted doing the next thing or whatever it is. And there's just no reason for that. So again, even though you may feel a little bit silly and like it's just me doing this, I'm telling you right now, like your business will grow. This will make you more efficient, and it's only going to really benefit you to do this stuff now. And so there's so many different things a CRM could do. And we could talk a little bit about that, Angel. But what I really want to talk about is for a second here, like really the overarching reason as to why it's important to have all your people come in to a single place. Like every lead that comes in, why it's important and why you see it to be important that you have all those people listed out and have their information in like one spot.
Mhm. So, I mean, inevitably, it's going to help all aspects of business. I think a big thing that I really see is sales, essentially, because if you have a bunch of leads coming in, they're not organized. Um, even if you're, the person who is picking up every single phone call, that's awesome. But not every single person is going to maybe schedule a consult, or maybe they're like, they need to take a look at their schedule and get back to you, whatever it is. Literally any reason for needing to like make a note on what you need to touch base with that client about. It all comes down to eventually being able to make a sale.
Mhm.
So, if you've got your phone ringing with like Google ad leads, but then you have your phone ringing with like organic leads, you have two different areas that you're trying to keep track of leads. Maybe if you're not moving them around, now you have a bunch of different lists on
Yep.
people of, what you need to follow up with them about. Um, but I also like going back to what you said earlier, like it's eventually going to help your business in the future and like when you
Yes.
start growing. So even now, even if you're a new business owner and you are just a, one man team, there is going to come a point where you're going to want to grow, even if you're just hiring, a like an office manager, someone to answer phones for you, or a part-time trainer, literally anyone that you're hiring onto your team. You need to have some type of organization and like process set in place in order to be able to run smoothly. And then also, if you start hiring on other trainers or giving other people more responsibilities, if there isn't already any like systems and organization in place and they kind of have the same mindset, I feel like that's just going to be a big cluster and things are going to get more unorganized. So,
Yep.
again, even if you have like no plans, even in the next like year to hire anyone, in the long run, it's going to help you, whether you're
Yeah.
growing your clientele or you're growing your team or whatever it is. I feel like
Yeah.
you can I feel like you can lose out on so much by not having your leads organized.
Exactly. I think that's the most important thing. And you started kind of touching on this before, but this is what I always think about. Like here's a scenario. Like lead one comes in and you're talking to that person, and then like lead two comes in and then you're finishing up the phone call, so you miss the second one and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden you have a client who has a bunch of questions and you got to get on a call with them. And then you didn't get a chance to call lead two back, and lead one needed to talk to her husband before she could commit to a consultation and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, like the day just kind of, it just kind of sweeps you away into like and pulls you in different directions. You got to be training board and trains and driving to consultations or whatever it may be. And even though, it may feel like, oh, I can just manage all this. Like it's not that many people. I can kind of just memorize everything. Trust me, like inevitably you will forget somebody, speaking from experience. As much as I like to think that I can remember everything, pretty clear that I can't.
Mhm.
And so the other thing is like another scenario is people, pipeline management. So what that means is people that you've met with in the past that didn't buy, that were like, hey, we really want to wait until the dog is this old before we start getting training, or you gave them that advice, like, hey, let's not do anything until the dog's 6 months old and the dog's only 4 months old now. Like, you can have a list of people that you keep in your CRM, bulleted out, and put due dates on them. So contact John on this day about this issue he's dealing with, or get him the contract to sign on this day. And yeah, I mean, it's the point is it's just so easy to forget about people and forget about conversations you've had. We've all had that situation where somebody calls you and they're like, hey, I talked to you 3 months ago, and you're like, I kind of remember this, right? But not really. And so if you can have detailed notes about things, it's more work, but it's just going to help you become more efficient. And I have had people that have said to me, like, hey, right now isn't the perfect time to get started, but May will be really good. And I have them waiting in a list, so I know to message them at that time. And I used to not do that. I'd be like, oh, it'll work out. I'll remember. I'll put like a reminder in the notes app on my phone or something like that. And then inevitably I just forget. But I have had people where I reach out to them and like, yep, let's get started. I'm ready to do this. This is the perfect time. And so
Yeah.
just keep track of everything, especially when you're doing paid advertising. You're paying for these leads. You might as well try and get every little last opportunity out of them as possible, instead of just being like, oh, like whatever, they weren't ready to do a consultation. I'll just wait for the next one to come in. Try and squeeze every little last ounce of juice out of it.
Yeah.
Um,
And like you mentioned, like a lead comes in and you don't get to it, or maybe it feels like you're pulling teeth trying to get them scheduled for a consult, and you're like, oh, I'll just get the next one. If you have that mindset, that's going to turn into like almost every lead, like, oh, it's no
yeah,
big deal, I'll get the next one. And then 10 leads later, you're just like brushing all of those to the side.
yeah,
um
yeah,
but like, we talk about all of this because obviously organization is important within a business, also from like personal experience for both of us, but it also makes me think of like some client situations too. Like, we really talk heavily on organization and utilizing Alfred, um, because we've had clients where they might be struggling with sales maybe. So then we start looking a little deeper into why, and we're like, okay, well, you got a crap ton of leads this month, but it looks like you answered maybe three of those the
yeah,
first time they called. And it also looks like you didn't move any of them around on your pipeline, so there's no way to tell if you followed up with them or anything that you've done. And then we've got other people, kind of sort of same situation, but they're like, holy cow, I'm getting so many leads, it's hard to keep track of, but they're also really good with keeping all of those organized. So,
yeah,
you know, both getting a crap ton of leads, and yeah, it can be a little bit overwhelming, but it's better to have that good problem of, oh, I got a lot coming in, it's hard to keep track of, but you're still doing it.
yeah,
You're still answering the phone, you're still moving the leads around, and then they're going to turn into sales,
yep,
So, um, staying organized doesn't mean that it automatically makes life super easy or makes, running a business super easy, but it takes it takes the load off of you for a lot of other things that could eventually build up.
yes, yeah. Yeah, I think something that came to mind when you were saying that, and I know you see a good amount of this as well with all the coaching and stuff you're doing for our clients. Most people, from what I find, actually don't have a sales problem. Most people are actually not that bad at sales when they get the opportunity to go meet with people face to face. Like, even people who think they're really bad, when we actually look at their numbers and say, hey, over the last 30 days, how many people did you do a face-to-face consult with? And they'll be like, oh, I did 8 of them. And how many signed up? Looks like 5. It's like most people think they're worse than they actually are. The problem most people actually have, from like the past couple of years of doing this, specifically with dog trainers, is they have like an appointment setting problem, and they have a pipeline management problem where they don't even get the opportunity to get in front of people. And we've talked about appointment setting and how to set consultations and stuff like that. So I don't think we need to go super far into that on this call. We could definitely talk more about that if anyone who's listening is interested in that. Just drop a comment in the comment section below. But I think that the more important thing that people really get hung up on is they don't even get the opportunity to meet with people face to face. And a lot of that stems from, like, they're not saying the right things on that call if they do talk to the person, or they just are not even getting to their leads. And a lot of times people get a lead, they miss the call, and they call that person back and they go, they didn't answer, the lead was no good, or they weren't like a qualified lead or something like that. It's like, you may have called them when they were in the middle of like changing their kid's diaper, or like when they were, like at work or something like that, or they just weren't in the mood to answer the call, they didn't recognize the number. And so, what I always say to everybody is like, call people until they tell you to stop calling. That is the rule of thumb, and
That's
again,
worst
you're
case
paying for
scenario.
these leads, so just keep calling them. They're not going to be offended, and even they are, what's the worst that happens?
Yeah. Yeah. They called you for a reason. And even like some of those leads too, like they're probably people who have reached like their last straw with their
Yeah,
dog and they're calling because they need help now, you know?
yeah, yeah,
So it doesn't hurt to quote unquote bother them by continuing to call back. Or sometimes they're just kind of going down a list of trainers that they're finding on Google. Cause that's something that I heard a lot whenever
yeah,
I was actively training is like whenever I would answer the call, we'd have a good conversation and then they end up thanking me. They're like, thank you so much for answering or getting back to me as quick as you did. I've called some other trainers and couldn't get a hold of anyone.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we see it all the time, and everybody is guilty of this. Everybody could be doing this better. It's funny. I have a good friend who works for a software company, and they make $50 million a year, right? And they're a really successful company. And he even tells me like sometimes he's like, yeah, I mean, I was in the meeting, and a board meeting, and we're talking about sales numbers and stuff like that, and like the investors and the board of directors are asking, why is this number so low? Why is this like, why are we not getting in touch with all these people that have contacted us? So this even happens as at the highest levels, like, make no mistake, companies like Apple and Amazon, they're focused on stuff like this as well, like pipeline management, making sure they're getting the most out of their leads. I mean, they're obviously doing it at a very high level, but this is what running a sales department is really all about. And so I think that's the difference that a lot of people need to start thinking about when they're running their business is, even if it is just you, there are different departments inside of your company. You just so happen to be the director and the manager of all those departments currently, right? But there is a sales department. There is like a customer service department. There is like a head trainer inside of the company. There is a CEO. There is an accountant and stuff like that. So think about it from that perspective of, if I were put in charge at this company to get the most out of our leads and be like the director of sales, how would I do it? What would I like to see out of other people doing this for me? And that's kind of the standard you should hold yourself to.
Yeah.
Um, and then
Um,
I think I just want to, oh, go ahead, Angel. I'm sorry, I cut you off there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, think of it as like you are working for another company. Like for
Yeah.
us, for example, like we have different kinds of team meetings all the time, and like each of us make it a point to make sure that we have, our crap together and we have information to share with one another, or if, someone else on our team needs information, that they have access to that information. Um, but yeah, like you said, like you as a business owner, you are that person that's like leading pretty much every department. So
Yeah.
even if you have to make a promise to yourself, like at the end of the week, every week, I need to like make sure I have everything together. I need like all my numbers and, notes and data and whatnot all organized. Like do it for yourself because you are the one leading every department of your company.
Yes, 100%. And just to kind of piggyback off of that, like you hit on something really good there. Like it's a little bit, it might feel a little bit odd having like meetings with yourself, and you don't need to like sit down and like talk to a mirror or something like that, like, and have like meetings, but it is good to like block out time to really focus on this. Like, this is something that right now we're even totally revisiting inside of Top Dog Advertising, which is like our onboarding process, right? And like, I'm sure everyone is like sick of hearing me talk about this, but the point is like, things can always get better. And everything builds on the last thing that you do. And so what you do is you create something new, you test it, see how it goes. Do I feel like this is as good as it can possibly be? Yes. I mean, more than likely it's not going to be yes. And if the answer is no, it's like, well, we need to keep refining this. So where you are today and what you're doing today should not be what you're doing tomorrow. Like if you are at all struggling with organization, what I would highly recommend anybody does is, get plugged in with some sort of like management software. Right now we're not offering Alfred to like the public. That may be something that changes in the near future. We would definitely keep you guys like posted on that if you're interested in hearing more about that. And even if you are, like, who knows? Like if you want to get put on like a waiting list or something like that, and if you were sincerely interested, like we may be able to make something work for you. Like if you really wanted to get started with that, just shoot me or Angel a message on Facebook. But with that being said, like there's different solutions out there, and the cool thing is there's so many different things that like CRMs can do. And there's so many different avenues you can go down. Like with our clients, we already have like a lot of automations built out inside of Alfred. So if like there's a missed call, it automatically texts them, right? And these are things you can set up. There's going to be some technical skill that you're going to have to learn in order to build it. But you can build stuff like that. You can build out automations to when a client finishes up with you to get more 5-star reviews, to do scheduling, build like a funnel to take payments. Like there's all these different things that you can do. It doesn't need to be so scattered in all different places. But what I always tell people is like focus on this. May feel a little bit intimidating. Like, where do I even start with this? Just try and solve the biggest problem that's in front of you right now. Like, don't worry about like ticky tack little things like and trying to solve everything overnight. Just focus on what is the number one thing that I'm missing right now. And most times for people, it's not like needing a really advanced payment funnel or needing even a scheduler. Most of the time, it's like you're just not getting enough consultations scheduled. So you're not putting yourself in a position to make enough sales each month. So just make sure you're getting the most out of your leads. Like have a way to track your leads, even if that's just in like a Google sheet.
Yeah. And then I will just throw this out there, like this is all stuff that we help our clients with. So not just, like the leads and sales aspect and the CRM that we provide our clients, Alfred, but
Yeah.
also just like organization within their business in general. Like I have people who want to schedule a call just to talk about their time management. They feel like that is kind of all over the place and they need some assistance figuring that out,
Yeah.
or just organization within their business in general. So, the stuff that we help our clients with doesn't stop just at, the CRM that we offer and the leads that we're helping generate for you guys. It's like organization all around for your business.
Super well said. Yeah, because I think that sometimes people also need to be. It's funny, and I've experienced this as well in life. Is like sometimes we just need to be almost. A lot of times, people sometimes know the answers, but they just feel like they need to be given permission, and they feel like their business is running them, and they have no time off and stuff like that. And it's like, well, think about that logically. What is the answer to that? It's like, well, I need to like schedule time off for myself. It's like, yeah, so go ahead and do it. A
Yeah.
lot of times it's so easy to get caught up in the day to day and just feel like, well, I need to go do this and this needs to get done. And all of a sudden you find yourself working from 6 in the morning until 10 at night, Monday through Sunday, and you never get any time off. You never take a vacation or anything like that. And there's periods of time to do stuff like that. I'm not saying that like I haven't done stuff like that before too, but if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling disorganized, the best advice I think anybody can give you with this is like sit down and actually plan out what you want your life to look like and how you want your business to run. Otherwise, you're never going to get out of the vicious cycle of kind of being at the mercy of your clients and at the mercy of your business.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
We've talked about this a little bit in another call where I think we were talking like similar organization type stuff. And even when you're trying to figure out like what to tackle first, you have to like come up with a game plan and come up with a list. So it's like you have to get organized to figure out how to get
Yeah.
organized. Which I know that in itself can get overwhelming, but just start with like figuring out how you want your business to be organized, what your goals are, tackle one thing at a time. You can't jump around to trying to tackle like all sorts of different things because you're just going to find yourself getting super overwhelmed and not being able to complete those things. So really figure out like what your end goal is, and then just start with one little project at a time.
Yes. Yep. And most times people know the answer, like if you think about it from the perspective, if you're feeling lost and like, I don't even know where to begin with this, I don't know how to get organized. Think about it if like a friend were coming to you or you were hired as a consultant for a dog training business on how to make that business more efficient and you needed to give them some sort of answer, right? Like you would come up with some sort of advice. It's just so easy in your own life to you can give other people advice, but you don't take your own advice. And so if you can just sit down and really think of it from that perspective, like I am hired as a consultant right now for my business, and I was hired and commissioned to build out a better way to manage the CEO's time, or a better way to nurture leads, or better way to just a way to make more money. You will come up with answers. You deep down know the answer. It's just sometimes you're too busy that you never even give yourself the time to actually think about it.
Yeah, and I feel like we keep mentioning like you know, think of yourself like working for an entire like corporate company
Mhm.
or, things like that. But I feel like it really comes down to like respect your time, respect your name and your business. And I feel like you owe it to yourself, that respect to make sure that you are running things how you want them to be ran. Just
Yeah.
like if you had like a really big team, like you're going to expect them to abide by, those rules and, the way that you run your business and your organization and systems and all of that. So,
Right.
I think, yeah, you owe it to yourself to really respect your own time and your name and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and if you don't have things in place by the time you go to hire somebody, if you hire somebody and they're like, well, like, what are you going to train them on? You know what I mean? Like, if you don't know how to do it, then you're never going to be able to train somebody else because they're going to be like, well, how do I do this? I don't know. I was hoping you could figure it out. It's like that is a recipe, even though sometimes that's exactly what I would do with Angel. I'm like, you can figure this out. But that is a recipe for like having somebody that doesn't do a good job, and then you get angry and pissed off at them and you let them go because it doesn't work, and then you start drawing the conclusion of like, oh, it doesn't, you can't find good help and stuff like that. It's like your employees are only going to be as good and as efficient as your weakest link in your systems. So if you don't really take the time to build out how you schedule people, how many times you call somebody back, and at what times a day you call them back if they're not answering, testing different messages that you send to leads that aren't answering, testing all that stuff, you're not going to really ever know exactly what works best for your business. So this is all just to say, like, take some time to really think about this and plan out your business and think about what you want it to look like in 6 months, a year, 5 years. Write those goals down. And I know we started talking about organization. This obviously kind of went into like almost like a goal setting thing, which tends to happen. But I think the most important thing, kind of going back to that, is start somewhere. And for some people, that may even look like right now getting a notebook. As crazy as that may sound, people are like, man, people call and I can't remember who they are. And it's like, yeah, go to Staples and pick up a notebook that's like this big, that's a spiral notebook, keep a pen on the side of it, and write their name down. That for a lot of people will even be game-changing advice.
Yeah.
And then if that is, helpful for you when you're ready to take it to the next level, then you can start looking into some sort of digital solution for your business.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, listen, let's leave it here for today. I hope you guys are finding value out of these calls. I've gotten some good feedback so far from different things. It's interesting. I feel like the most feedback I've gotten so far was our video that we did on imposter syndrome. So if you haven't seen that already, you can search the group for that and it should come up. And yeah, that's a good one to check out if you haven't seen that, because I feel like that's something that at a certain point everybody struggles with. Am I good enough? Am I doing the right thing? What can I be doing better for my clients, and all that stuff. But
Mhm.
as always, we hope you guys got some value out of this. If you liked it, do us a favor, give it a thumbs up, like the video, comment down below, and tag anybody in it that you think would get some benefit out of it. So we appreciate all the support, guys, and we will see you guys in the next video. See ya.